Hi, good morning, or good day, or good day, YouTube. I'm not a fan of YouTube. I'm a fan of TikTok. But today, when I want to make a comment video, I come to YouTube. Right. Let me show you my muscles. Show you my muscles. You see, I do these things for myself. Okay, so this is my muscles. 4 months from on the 22 would be 5 months from. So there is a little pin. This is on the right side, like a walkout pin, on the right side. This is this side. I'm working on the arms. I'm working on the back and the chest. So just trying to get my chest back up. As you could see, that's the last little surgery there. It's 2 weeks ago to take out the chemo put from there down here into this. The one before that was in the back side here. Big, big incision about 4 inches, about 4 inches long, which and of course the major surgery. So this is like a bookmark video for me, and maybe I should blur my background so you wouldn't see my dirtiness. But anyhow, thank you for joining me today. This is more usually see this is a video for myself, for me to look back and see, or for someone to look and they might also learn. Yeah, I got a bump here this morning, and that has been happening to me. I'm doing liver detox and stuff like that. It's not the one here, that's just how the lights coming in. So I need to clean up, trying to clean up myself now. When you do liver detox, if the kidney is slow, the skin is the third kidney, so you get this kind of breakouts. So I'm working on that there now, trying to get my kidneys to detoxify itself. It will be about 2 months into March, and I should be able to see better, clearer skin, getting into the detoxification of my body to bring back the homeostasis and the balance that was lost. So today my topic is simple. For those of you who would have read the topic, it is simply about my learning about protein thus far. Now, disclaimer, let it be clear that I have not learned anything, and there is nothing to learn, and there is nothing to really share here. What I have learned is from so many different great people on the internet, and even people from, I guess, the United States, who have YouTube channels, persons who have had experience, a lot of the research paper about the importance of our dietary protein. So, in my summary, what I would do is explain how I see the pictures. I have gotten a lot of inspiration from the self, from the divine self. So that's another important point. So my summary take here is simple. So summary take, I start with summary take first. Let me just type it into the summary take is that we are built with human protein. We are built and created with human protein. And I need to use these words because I want to be clear. I'm speaking to persons like myself who are coming from a position where we do not have all this nutritional background. So when we use certain words, we want to be contextualized, we want to be clear about it. So in my discussion, I would use the word human protein to mean protein that is created from amino acids inside of the human system that would create human protein. Greatly, we speak about human protein as muscles. That is just part of it. The hair, this gray hair, the eyes, everything that you see, everything that you have, the hormones, they are all created from human amino acids, and these are called human protein. So insulin is a human protein, and there are many other things, actin, myosin. They are all human proteins. Yes, the muscles, human protein, the skin, human protein, the red blood cells, human protein, the white blood cells, human protein. Now, there's another word I would like to introduce right now, which is dietary protein or meats. Your meat, your legumes, your fish, your eggs, your peas, even rice. and all other sources well bread has gluten, which is dietary protein. Dietary protein is what you put in your mouth, what you eat. Dietary protein is not an end game. It is actually a storage mechanism, a block that goes into a system called the digestive system that creates amino acids. So the main things here that we need to learn about is think about amino acids as your main input into your human being. Now, all that I'm saying here is my way or my version of putting a message out there that could be reaching an audience that is um, trying to understand these things in its simplistic terms. So I'll be using a lot of analogies to explain what I understand. So this video, welcome in your comments, whether it's a pre-recording in the comments now or whether it is comments from in the future. I welcome your comments. I'm very open to your comments. See what you have to say. Be open, be frank. Even the trolls, please. I ask you to troll and try to get more of your trolling comments here so that my video would have some more uptick on the market. Everybody is appreciated. I don't see anybody as having an issue, bad, good, or whatever. Comment, welcome. Trolling is welcome. If you think you want to see something that you consider to be harsh, then you're wasting your time because you're speaking to a guy who died already. So there is no waste of time in whatever you have to say. And that's how it is with me right now. So you are wasting your energy if you're trying to troll me or if you're trying to do anything like that. So here is my take on it. You go out there and you kill a goat, you kill a sheep, you kill a cow, you kill one of those things. You are literally sacrificing. You are This animal is sacrificing its life to give you life, meaning to give you what you need to create life. So an animal or whether it's plants, they are being sacrificed to give us life. And that is why we have a sacrificial system in this world. So when we look at the Bible and we speak about things like, oh, the temple sacrifice and all this is a pile of, to me, is a pile of stories that we need to understand in its light of individual life and not in the stories of what we make up in our mind about some building in wherever country. I don't call it no names. And you do have this temple sacrifice. This is the temple. This is the temple. And if you don't want to believe that, go back and read the same Christian Bible you've been reading that says that your body is the temple of the living being. You are the living being inside this temple. And you need now to create this temple every day. This is a living temple. This is not a structure. Even the building structures now need repair and maintenance. Now, this temple is not made with stones and sticks. It's made with amino acids. And I don't know, I don't have any literature to support what I'm saying here, but I'm seeing it as maybe 80% of our physical creation is an amino acid that has to be present to create it. Carbs gives you glucose, fructose, galactose based on which type of source of energy you're looking at. And these source of energies comes down to give you energy, which would be converted by the cells to energy format ATP. But when it comes to building blocks, it comes right back to the amino acids. Okay, it comes down to the amino acids. So if you ask yourself, why are you speaking about amino acids? Then you have to ask yourself, why are you going to buy sand, cement, concrete blocks to build your house? And then why you still have to go back and buy paint every year to paint your house? And why you have to go and always get a little bit of sand to come and plaster the walls? That's what we're doing. And why you have to get a broom to sweep the house? And why you have to get a washing machine to wash the clothes? It's that we are living in a living system that has all these processes running simultaneously. And when this process runs, we call them, or we could call them, the breakdown. Things die, and then things have to be built up. So every day we need to have a great composition of what is called amino acids into our body. Now we do not need to have protein. So let's get it clear. I am using two words here, and maybe I should have made a slide and speak to the slide instead. We do not need to speak about protein. We need to speak about amino acids. When you take a block of meat and you're eating it, you are eating it to get the constituency building blocks of life, which is called amino acids. There's a process in which digestion has to go about taking this piece of protein, and I usually use this to explain what protein means. Protein is, this is piece of meat, and the protein in the meat at the microscopic level is coiled up like this. When it goes into your stomach, it hits something called hydrochloric acid into the stomach. It hits hydrochloric acid, and hydrochloric acid starts doing this. It's called denaturing or uncoiling the protein. Okay, so this is now a strand of protein. And when you zoom down, it's like little links in a chain going right across. Each little link is called an amino acid. They are of different types. The the good scientists say there are about 21 or 22, I don't know, and there are 8 essentials that you need, but they are like little letters A, L, V, about 22 or 21. And this is called a protein. This is a protein, an animal protein from a diet source, or a plant protein from a plant source. In your stomach, you have a scissors. The scissors is resting, so we call it, it's closed and it's resting. It's not activated because there is no protein there yet, and it's called pepsinogen. And then when there is protein and hydrochloric acid, it opens up and it start doing this. It's called pepsin. So it start cutting the protein in small pieces, small pieces, small pieces, small pieces. So each piece of this protein now is called a peptide. And of course, the peptide has the small links, so have a smaller piece to deal with, and that might get even cut up further to create amino acids. Or it may go down into the duodenum, into the small intestine, gets more enzymes from the pancreas that could break it down into amino acids. The fact of the matter, this whole process that we call digestion of protein, which is so a long-term process, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 hours based on the type of protein you are consuming, leads into one thing. It leads into the creation of amino acids. So when I say dietary protein is not important, of course it is the input. It is important. The input is important. It is important. But what is really important is the amino acids creation process, because it's the amino acids that comes into be very small structures. They are literally small structures that get sucked into the small intestinal part of the walls, and then it goes into the portal vein up to the liver, and some scientists say it goes to the muscles directly, but I'll stay with liver. Now, amino acids are to be provided in the body because the body has to use amino acids not only to build muscles, but for everything. Repairing of the skin, you call it collagen, for neurotransmitters, for hormone creation. And insulin is a specific hormone that we know 51 amino acids come together to create insulin. Any hormones that you have throughout the body is really amino acids. Your red blood cells, everything in the body is created from the structure of amino acids coming together, which is not just they come and they join together. No, there are specific algorithms known by the liver, the pancreas, the adrenal glands, and throat. There are specific algorithms that has frameworks, blueprint frameworks that came from the master record. And so when the brain says, create this because I'm getting this signal, the organ that is creating the hormone is looking really at the master record and saying, okay, so this is insulin. They don't know the name insulin, but they look at the structure and they just bring the amino acids together. And here comes insulin. It's created by the liver. Let's say it's created by the liver or the pancreas, and it's shipped out into the bloodstream and it goes to do its job. All these things require amino acids. So just take insulin for an example. Insulin is 51 different amino acids or different little building blocks um, put together, and that creates that's the smallest protein you could get. There are other peptides. So when you go 0 to 50, you say peptides. When you go 50 and above, you say protein. So the human protein has nothing to do with the dietary protein. The dietary protein really and truly is for you to input amino acids into your body. And of course, you could be eating dietary protein, whether it's meat or legumes or whatever. And we'll go into the discussion of the nuances with legume sources not being of a great quality of amino acid as compared to the animal type protein. Now, when you do this, when you take your amino acids in, you are filling up what we call the inventory of amino acids in the liver, so that functional things could happen when it has to happen. Because you see, the liver is the one that needs to look into its inventory on demand and say, okay, I'm being demanded to create this, I'm being demanded to create that, I have to create this hormone, I have to and I just need to make sure that my inventory has all the amino acids there. If I doesn't have amino acid, then I have to send back some signal to the brain and say maybe find some kind of broken old protein source, break it down, send some amino acids to me so that I could create on demand what you need to create at any point in time. So this is my summary of how it works with the creation of human protein. So back up to the mouth. So it is the mouth that is important in all that we do, and so we have to chew our food, and we have to take in our food from plants, animals, and in my case, you take plants, animals, and then you take supplements. Supplements is basically the digestive process being bypassed, meaning that you digest the food outside of your mouth, put it into your body as a supplement, and get it into the small intestine faster than it would take if you left it into the stomach. Now, if we're going to look at protein, we need to understand that we have animal protein and we have plant protein. We have plant amino acid and we have animal amino acid. Your first question should be of a thinking. And again, folks, let me just share my disclaimer. These are all my own opinions. If I would ask a plant, what type of protein would you be creating for your cell structure? What type of hormones would you have for your hormone structure? If I would ask a plant, the plant would say, I have to sustain myself. So when I create amino acids, it might more than likely be plant-based amino acids. Now, if I have to ask an animal, and I would go to a mammal and I say, mammal, what type of protein are you creating? What type of amino acids would you be creating when you create amino acids? And the animal will say, mammalian type, you know. Now, as a human being, I have to ask myself, am I more looking for a plant or am I more looking for a animal or am I more keen as an animal or a plant? Now, I could argue that I'm not an animal, I could argue I'm not a plant, but more or less the physical body, the muscle structure and things seems to be more towards animal. Now, if you study the animal's amino acid structure, you could see that the animal amino acid structures are more than likely closer to our body's amino acid structure. So when we eat piece of meat and we uncoil the protein and we create amino acids, it's the same amino acids that are found in a cow. It's not always the same in the animal. The second issue is that a piece of piece of meat, what we call meat from the animal flesh, would contain the essential amino acids and the other amino acids that we need once we get our meat from good sources, of course. But when you look at the plants, a bounded plant amino acid in plants, even though it's the same amino acid structure, would be bounded by a lot of what? Carbs, carbohydrates. In our life, we know what carbohydrates digest into glucose, which is the energy source of the body. So when you look at a peas or a bean, if we could break a peas or a bean, let's say that's a pea or a bean, and you look at it, the protein amounts inside bean would be much less than the protein amount into the equal quantity of meat. So the amino acids ratio of in a piece of meat, so if you look at a piece of meat and you eat it, you might say 5% might go as waste or 10% goes as weight and the rest goes into the body as the amino acid needed. If you take the same quantity of beans or peas, you may get to realize that you are getting about 10% of the amount that you're eating as the amino acids. The rest is really carbs, and then some might be waste. So when you sit and you think about those things, you then realize you have to become commonsensical about what you are doing. So when we speak about the vegetarian diet and we sit and we fight and say vegetarian diet this and vegetarian diet that, we are putting ourselves at risk, specifically for the most abundant macronutrient that is needed by the body. The main macronutrient needed by the body is not carbohydrates, it is protein. In fact, you don't even need carbs anymore. You could live without carbs right now because your protein sources, if it is too abundant, it would break down into forming glucose, forming sugars. Fatty acids are very important also. But necessarily on our side, we have to recognize, realize that our amino acid sources are critical and it has to be right, it has to be of good quality, it has to be in the right amounts. Lesson number two that I have picked up on from my research on amino acids. There are some amino acids that are actually more important than others. There are 21 or 22, what they say they are 8 essential, and the 8 essential, you must get them from your diet, whereas the non-essential ones, they could be conditional, meaning that based upon your situation, the 8 essential could come together and create the non-essential and the conditional ones. So even though you don't get them from your diet and you have enough of the essential ones could come together and make the non-essential and the conditional ones. Point number three, amino acids such as leucine seems to be a critical component in triggering certain activities in the body. Whereas we sit and we think that we don't need to pay attention to the amount of any amino acid, but I think it's important that we know there are some amino acids that are better than others. Meaning, when I say better, we have to have them in a certain quantity for the body to trigger certain activities. So the importance of leucine is one that seems to be of relevance in our study, especially as you get older or in your early 40s. The importance of histidine is one that seems not to be kind of well known as to why it's around in place. So leucine is an essential amino acid the body cannot produce on its own. So it's one of those fundamental amino acids. I know they call them essential when they say they should call them fundamental. Fundamental amino acid, the body cannot produce it on its own and it must be obtained from our food sources. It plays a critical role in protein synthesis and muscles repair. Now, this is what you would read on the internet, but what they wouldn't tell you, you need to have a certain quantity. So you could be taking in leucine, but if it is under that tipping point threshold, then you don't even have the activity of muscle repair and and protein synthesis taking place. Protein synthesis simply means the amino acids coming together to form a protein. So just to create a protein, you have to have enough leucine, which is the amino acids. You have to have enough leucine in abundance just to create a protein. So if you don't have leucine in the abundant quantity, then you run into problems also in just to create proteins. So it's one of those critical ones. Now that one has to have its threshold to trigger to the body certain components, certain things to happen. Right. So if you are engaging physical activity, you're an athlete, well, everybody should be physical. Having the right amount of leucine in your body is important. And the leucine has to signal, it acts as a signaling molecule. It stimulates protein synthesis and it helps regulate your blood sugar levels. So you might be a diabetic, having a lot of blood sugar issues, and what you need to figure out is, am I having enough leucine? Although you might be diabetic or high insulin resistant, you have to signal also with using chromium or palladium to ensure that the cells are opening. But you might be having a lack of leucine, quantum of leucine, the amount of leucine in your body that you are taking in with your plant-based diet might be too low. Leucine is also important for the production of the growth hormone and it contributes to wound healing and skin healing. So while we speak about collagen, right? But to heal wound and heal skin, we need to have an abundant amount of leucine. Your meat, your dairy products, your eggs, your soya beans, and your legumes would have leucine. So let's look at legumes. You might eat some legume, but how much a legume could you eat to get enough leucine? And once you have to, if I tell you you have to eat X amount of legume, you have to eat all that legume. You are putting in quantum of carbohydrates at the same time, and you do not need all these carbs. So if you eat meat on the other hand, you are putting in the amino acids, and you are not getting more than likely you're not getting that amount of carbs. And there is another effect with meat as compared to Plants you're always eating. And as soon as you eat and blood sugar goes up, you are actually creating insulin and other hormones. So you are just consuming amino acids. So as a vegetarian, you are consistently consuming amino acids, but you are putting in pro poor and low quality and low quantities of amino acids by your consistent eating of plants. So that was lesson number 3. Amino acid leucine is a critical one. So if you are vegetarian and you have this information, what you could start doing is start saying to yourself, hey, I understand these things, I accept these things. So what I would want to do is start to supplement. Because you may want, honestly, you may have your reasons for staying away from it. As far as I'm concerned, you should have reasons to stay away from plant now because as far as I'm concerned, going down that road of the plant-based diet without the right information is the most riskiest thing one or the biggest risk that one would take with their physical bodies. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Everything in this video is on my opinion. Anyhow, no advice. So we need to understand, and that's what I'm doing this year for. We need to understand that our dietary input of leucine is an important amino acid. You could get it from supplements, you could get it from your meats, but you must get it in its right amounts so that the signaling and the protein synthesis could start. So that's the essential or the fundamental amino acid called leucine. Now, folks, you may say, "Well, I'm just eating my protein, so I'm good to go." Let's be real about it. You could eat all the protein, and now these days we have protein shake, protein bar, protein this, protein that, pea protein this, but it's just a whole wash load of these things. And if you are consuming any of these things, you got to know that you are consuming a lot of carbs, whether it's whey protein is a sugary protein source. Um, so you need to keep that in mind. Um, I do have specific information and recommendations about certain whey protein products that you would actually be able to test to see, hey, if you mix them as protein products, you get them tasting so well, nice, fun, and dandy. And then when you follow proper instructions in preparation, you actually hit them because amino acids don't taste too good when you take them in as supplements. And that's some of the things that you could pick up when you have a good oil amino acid supplement. If it is great, you have to ask yourself, what is going on here? Why are they putting back sugars into the amino acid? Because you don't want your amino acids to have much sugars per se. You don't want it to have much glucose built around it because the digestive process for glucose is fat, leads to something called dumping. It's fast. It could lead to more dumping kind of effect. Whereas the natural protein source like meats are quite slower, 6 to 8 hours. And that's for specific reasons of ensuring that you consistently have supplies of your amino acids coming through your small intestine into the portal vein up to the liver. Why you want to have that? Why you need to have consistent flow of amino acids? Let me explain something to you. Amino acids is the one thing in the body that doesn't stay. Even vitamin B has a storage location in the liver for 3 to 6 years, according to scientists. Amino acids cannot last long in the body. There is no storage of amino acids. So what happens to amino acid? It breaks down or it decomposes back, catabolizes itself into what is called glucose, the CH3 molecules, and it releases its nitrogen, which converts into the liver as ammonia and passes through the kidney out as urea. Now you don't want much of that happening because, of course, ammonia is not the best thing for the liver. So it gets rid of it, bundles it up, ties it, and dump it out into the kidney in the liquid elimination pathway. I guess some goes through the bile too, so it goes through the solid digestive process for the elimination pathway through the colon and the rectum. But the point is, amino acids cannot be stored, so they have to. If you notice what's happening here from a natural point of view, common sense again. If you eat some meat, there is a very gentle supply into the small intestine of that substance we call meat, because the stomach itself, which is the chamber that biodigests or breaks down protein, it's not a fast process. It's not a fast process. It takes long hours, 6 8 hours with a hard piece of meat, and then that flows into the duodenum, gets alkalized with the bile and the mixture of the pancreatic juices, and then that gently goes through that long small intestine to get itself broken down further into amino acids, and the amino acids get absorbed. So you could see naturally, if you think about it, when you eat a good protein, dietary protein source to get amino acids from meat, it would take a while for all these amino acids. So you can't sit in the evening and say to yourself, okay, I just ate some beef or steak or whatever, or 2 eggs, and I'm running out of amino acids by 12 in the night. Now, you would have consistent supply from the digestion for a very long time, of around 12. But then when it comes in the morning, you start realizing you are running out of your amino acids, because overnight, it's only full digestion that's taking place slowly in the night, and then absorption of the amino acids and all the creation of the nightly repair mechanism by the liver takes place, and you move from there up forward into the day. So in the morning time, you realize you would have to grab your eggs to get some more amino acids, and you move along from there, and then you try to have some more amino acids in your body during the day through meat or whatever. But in the evening, you want to have some amino acids to ensure that in the night, the liver could function very well and do what the liver does well. The phase one detoxification and all the other repair functions are happening in the night, so you need some amino acids there to play around with. And so, folks, this is what I found so far in my personal research. What I'm doing here is my personal summary of what I'm finding. I'm gonna write it and put it on my website. My website will be posted, aihealthinsights.org, and this article will be posted very soon. Thank you very much for being with me and for looking at this video. Comments are welcome. Any comment is welcome.